Okey, tak apa, kita proceed lah untuk jimatkan masa. Okey, untuk question number 1, okey, siapa-siapa yang dapat jawapan whispered nervously she tiptoed into the old dark into the old dark house. Hello, is anyone here? She whispered nervously. Okay, itu jawapan dia whispered nervously, membisik dalam keadaan yang takut lah Okay, number 2, someone's coming to save us. Okay, so kalau awak tengok dekat ayat yang depan ni ada apa tu? Ada exclamation mark kat sini. Bila ada exclamation mark ni maksudnya ayat ni disebut dengan dalam keadaan macam menjerit lah but it is in shouting in excitement lah, dalam keadaan yang sangat teruja. So the answer for number 2 is shouted excitedly. Okay, someone's coming to save us, shouted the boy excitedly. Okay, so siapa yang dapat jawapan tu betul Okay, number 3, leave me alone. Okay, so for this statement is a statement out of despise. Okay, statement yang dibuat oleh seseorang yang tak nak diganggu yang mungkin tengah ada masalah ke. Okay, so dia kata leave me alone. Okay, it's a negative statement. Okay, so jawapan dia dekat sini screamed angrily. Menjerit. She screamed angrily. Okay, menjerit dalam keadaan yang marah. Okay, number 4, I'm going to win this race. Okay, so ini kalau perasan ada perkataan himself. Okay, so ini lebih kepada macam a person trying to motivate himself. Okay, so yang ni jawapan dia he told himself decisively. Okay, dia memberitahu dirinya dengan penuh keyakinan. Okay, decisively. Okay, number 5, this has been the best day of my life. Okay, yang last one, she sighed happily. Okay, sighed ni macam menarik nafas lega lah. She sighed happily. So, siapa yang dapat jawapan dia tu? Very good, congratulations. Okay, so let's move on to the second activity. So, selain dari menggunakan adjective dengan adverb tu, adjective lah. Verb selain dari menggunakan verb dengan adverb, salah satu cara lain ialah menggunakan perkataan menggunakan adjective yang lebih sesuai. Okay, selain dari aside from using the normal adjective contohnya macam scared, tired, itu semua normal, itu semua common words. Okay, perkataan-perkataan yang siapa-siapa pun boleh terfikir. So instead of using those common adjectives, awak boleh gunakan adjective yang lebih menarik. Okay, orang kata perkataan yang lebih bombastic lah, senang cerita. Okay, contohnya ada dekat sini lah. So we have astonished, desperate, exhausted, relieved, terrified. Okay, so gunakan adjective yang lebih menarik dari adjective yang biasa. Okay, astonished, perkataan yang sama erti dengan dia mungkin amazed, desperate, exhausted. Exhausted is when a person is very tired, sangat penat. Okay, relieved, when someone is lega lah. Mungkin ada benda yang berlaku yang buat dia dalam keadaan ketakutan dan di hujungnya benda tu habis dan dia rasa lega lah. And lastly is terrified. Okay, another simple word yang biasa awak tahu, scared lah kan. It's the same thing, cuma terrified has a better sound. Right, number one. Nick was what? I can't believe he said. Awak rasa apa jawapan dia dekat sini kelas? Untuk soalan nombor satu. Nick was what? I can't believe it. In fact, saya bagi awak sikit masa lah untuk awak fikirkan apa jawapan 1 hingga 5. Saya bagi dalam 1 minit. Okay, so please check, please ni please cuba fikirkan sendiri dulu sebelum saya bacakan jawapan dia tu. Okay, fikir dahulu apa jawapan dia Buat kelas jangan tunggu saya bagi jawapan je. Saya cuma nak cepat je sebab tu hujung-hujung saya bagi je jawapan dia. Tapi awak cuba dulu try to think of the answers. Okay, before I give you the answers. Okay, I just want to chase time because we don't have much time. Okay, saya harap awak dah dapat jawapan dia Okay, kita teruskan dekat sini. Okay, number one, the answer for number one is astonished. Okay, so kalau awak dapat jawapan dia astonished, then awak betul lah. Astonished tu macam amazed juga. Okay, cuma dia another it's a more bombastic kind of word lah. Astonished I can't believe it, he said. Okay, so Nick was astonished. I can't believe it, he said. Okay, number two, Emmy's hands shook with fear as she picked up the phone. She was, okay, so kat sini kata kunci dia shook with fear. Fear, so takut, right? So the answer for number two is terrified. Okay, she was terrified. Okay, sangat dalam keadaan yang sangat takut. Okay, number three, thank goodness I found it at last. He said Jen, I am so. Okay, yang ni, thank goodness ni macam kita orang Islam kita kata Alhamdulillah lah kan. Okay, mungkin dia hilang barang tu lepas tu hujung-hujung dia jumpa balik. So the answer for number three is relieved. Relieved. Lega. Right, number four, he had been so determined to get to the top of the mountain, but now he was too. Okay, yang ni dia ni lah determined. Dia punya kata kerja kat depan tu determined tu maksudnya sangat apa orang kata bersemangat untuk sampai ke puncak, but now he was too exhausted. Jawapan dia exhausted, sangat penat. He was too exhausted to go any further. And finally, number five, she felt desperate. There must be something I can do to help, she thought. So number five is desperate. So these are the answers: astonished, okay, terrified, relieved, exhausted, and desperate. Okay, so siapa yang dapat jawapan tu bagus, very good. Okay, so let's move on to the next part of this session. Read this writing task and discuss the question below in class. You have seen this announcement in an English language magazine. We are looking for stories for our magazine. Okay, your story must begin with this sentence. And knocked on the door of the house. She was determined to find out who lived there. Your story must include an old woman and also a surprise. Okay, so ini contoh soalan karangan. Okey, biasanya dia akan bagi satu ayat. Okey, kadang-kadang ayat tu dia minta jadi ayat pertama dalam karangan awak ataupun dia minta jadi ayat yang terakhir dalam karangan awak. So it all depends on the question lah. So kalau yang ini dia kata begin ayat pertama. So you have to write starting from that sentence lah. And knocked on the door of the house. She was determined to find out who lived there. Okay, and then sambung. So aside from ayat pertama tu, awak juga kena include. You have to also include an old woman in your story and also a surprise. Okay, perkara ada dua benda tiga benda lah. Pertama tadi ayat tu and knock blah 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 tu, and then number two you have to include an old woman in your story, and number three you have to also have a surprise in the story. Okay, so very simple task. How long is it? It should be between 140 to 190. Okay. Can you think of one or two different kinds of stories you could write in answer to this writing task? Okay, so apakah jenis cerita-cerita yang awak boleh karang berdasarkan soalan ni? So kalau awak tanya saya, soalan ni this kind of question is quite flexible. Okay, you can make a happy story. Okay, awak boleh tulis satu cerita yang orang kata cerita yang positif, cerita yang happy. Okay. Happy tu mungkin macam contoh yang kita akan tengok kejap lagi this character N, she's a person, maybe she's a social worker, and she was going to a home one day, to someone's home one day, maybe old people's home, to give assistance, and she found out that the person living there was actually her great aunt. Okay. So it's dah lengkap lah cerita dia guys tu, all women dengan a surprise guys tu. So that one is a happy kind of story. Cuma kat depan dia tu macam ada ni sikit. Awak boleh letak juga misteri, boleh jadikan cerita ni cerita misteri. Okay, cerita yang cerita seram. Anne knocked on the door of the house. She was determined to find out who lived there. Okay, the house was very creepy. She never noticed anyone walking in or out of the house. But she was told that someone was living there, so she went there. Okay, when she knocked on the door, she heard a scream kan. Cerita seram. Pulang pada awak lah. So itu dua contoh jenis cerita yang awak boleh olah daripada soalan ni. What feelings might the characters experience? So kalau cerita seram, bolehlah pakai perkataan yang kita belajar tadi, terrified, anxious. Okay, kalau if it's a happy story, then happy, astonished, depend pada cerita awak lah. Okay, so kita tengok ini, kita dah tengok contoh soalan. Okay, now let's look at an example of the story, contoh karangan tu. Okay, read the story that was written in answer to the question in 3 and answer the questions below. Okay, tengok karangan dia ni panjang juga saya bacakan. Anne knocked on the door of the house. She was determined to find out who lived there. She had recently moved from America to the small village and had often admired the house's beautiful rose garden. She knocked again nervously. There was still no answer, but a wonderful, sweet smell of cooking was coming from the kitchen. Someone must be here, she thought hopefully. Just then she heard a soft cry, "Help me, please." She ran to the back of the house and pushed her way through the back door in panic. An old lady was lying on the kitchen floor. "I fell over and I think my ankle's broken," she explained weakly. After calling for an ambulance, Anne comforted her. as she stroked the old lady's soft white hair, she was astonished to see a birthmark on her neck. It was exactly the same shape as hers. Much later, they found out that the old lady was actually her great aunt Elizabeth. After that, Anne spent many happy evenings in the house listening to old family stories and eating delicious cake. Okay, so the story start off with macam seolah macam seakan-akan mystery because she went to a house where she didn't know who was living there. Okay, and she just moved from America, so it's maybe it's a place in the Europe. Okay, we don't know because it wasn't mentioned in the story. She moved from America to a small village. Okay, maybe it's in the Europe country. Maybe we don't know. Okay, and she saw the house has a beautiful rose garden. Okay, so she knocked nervously. Dia ketuk pintu. There was still no answer, but a wonderful sweet smell of cooking was coming from the kitchen. Okay, tapi dia dapat bau yang ada orang masak di dapur. Okay, so she thought someone must be here. Okay, just then she heard a soft cry, "Help me, please." She ran to the back of the house and pushed her way through the back door in panic. So dia dengar ada orang menjerit, bukanlah menjerit, macam ada suara orang minta tolong. Okay, so she went there and she found an old lady lying in the kitchen floor. Yeah, I fell over and I think my ankles broken. So she explained weakly. After calling for ambulance, okay, so Anne comforted the old lady. When she was stroking the old lady's soft hair, bila dia tengah usap kepala nenek tu, okay, she was astonished to see a birthmark, tanda lahir dekat tengkuk apa tu acik tu. Okay, and the shape of the birthmark was exactly like her. So they did some investigation and found out that the old lady was actually her great aunt Elizabeth. Okay, so it was the story start off with a bit mystery there, but in the end it's a happy ending. Okay. Does the writer explain the situation in the given sentence? Okay, so ayat yang diberikan tadi, and knock on the door of the house. She was determined to find out who lived there. So adakah cerita ni menjawab persoalan yang pertama tu? Yes. Okay. Apa sebab persoalan dia she was determined to find out who lived there. Okay, dia nak tahu siapa yang duduk dekat situ. So in the end she found out it was actually her great aunt. So the answer here is yes. Number 2, does the writer include both points asked for in the task? Okay, 2 poin yang soalan tu minta, selain dari menggunakan ayat tu sebagai ayat pertama dalam cerita dia. Okay, 2 perkara lain, all women. Okay, the story must include an old woman and also a surprise. So ada tak dalam cerita ni? Ada. Okay, so the old woman ada, and also the surprise is when she realized that the old woman was actually her great aunt Elizabeth. So ada yes. Number 3, how many different feelings does Anne experience in the model story? Circle any words or phrases that show us how she feels. Okay, so tengok dekat dalam cerita ni ada banyak perasaan yang ditunjukkan oleh karakter Anne ni. Pertamanya determined, okay, bersemangat and then admired. Okay, admired ni lah teruja. And then ada lagi nervously, okay. Lepas tu ada okay, dekat sini ada astonished. Astonished pun dia punya feelings juga. Apa tu, happy evenings. Okay, listening to all family stories. So happy lah in the end. Okay, so boleh bulatkan sendirilah. So banyak dalam cerita tu macam-macam emosi ada, bergantung pada cerita tu macam mana. Starting dia macam misteri sikit. So, dia gunalah perkataan yang menunjukkan macam karakter tu macam risau, okay, macam takut. Okay, bila cerita tu jadi happy, so dia gunalah apa tu, adjective yang happy kan. Okay. So this is how you use it. Okay. Another way, okay, salah satu selain dari cara yang kita dah belajar dua tadi, using adjective and adverb, okay, and also give emotions to your characters. Another way to bring your story to life is to use some of the five senses. Okay, menggunakan 5 deria yang kita ada. So awak bayangkan macam awak ada dekat situ dan apa deria-deria awak tu awak gunakan sebagai dia macam WH question lah. What can you see? What can you hear? What can you smell? What can you taste? And what can you touch? Okay, so sight, see lah apa yang awak boleh nampak. Hearing, apa yang awak boleh dengar. Smell, apa yang awak boleh bau. Apa yang awak boleh hidu. Taste, apa yang awak boleh rasa. Dan touch, apa yang awak boleh sentuh. Right, in your description. Underline examples of this in the model story. So, kita tengok dekat dalam cerita ni, deria-deria yang digunakan oleh penulis. Okay, penulis ni dia gunakan semua deria yang ada. Sight, dekat depan ni ada digunakan. Had often admired the house's beautiful rose garden. So, as you can see here, deria penglihatan digunakan oleh penulis dekat sini. Beautiful rose garden. Maksudnya karakter tu boleh nampak yang ada rose garden yang cantik dekat situ. Hearing. Okay, what the character can hear. Apa yang boleh didengar oleh karakter tu. Kat sini. Just then she heard a soft cry. Help me, please. Okay, so ini menggunakan deria pendengaran. Okay, lepas tu apa? Pendengaran bau. Deria bau. Mana tadi yang ada masak tu? Yang ni. Okay. Sweet smell. Okay, but a wonderful sweet smell of cooking was coming from the kitchen. Ada menggunakan deria bau. Lepas tu, taste. Taste dekat ujung ni lah. Eating delicious cake. Deria rasa. And finally, touch. Touch dekat bahagian tu. She stroked the old lady's soft white hair. Sentuhan. So semua deria digunakan. Barulah cerita ni jadi. Ni lah cerita dia ringkas je, pendek je. Tapi sangat sangat padat dengan perkara-perkara yang menarik. Boleh je kalau dia exclude semua benda ni. So cerita ni jadi boring lah kalau dia tak tulis ni semua. Okay, boleh je dia sambung dengan and knock on the door of the house. He was determined to find out who lived there. She just moved from America. But she saw that the house has a garden. Okay, dia tak pakai beautiful apa semua tak pakai. So dia akan jadi boring. She knocked again. But there's no one answering. Okay, dia tak pakai deria rasa, dia tak pakai deria bau kan. Just dia kata she just say that someone could be here, okay, because the people from the social services ask her to come ke kan. So cerita dia jadi macam boring lah kalau tak include deria-deria tu tadi kan. Okay, so that's why we include those things. Okay, activity 6 now imagine you are on a beach in the summer with a partner. Discuss ideas for each of the 5 senses. Okay, so we don't have the time for you to do it with your partner. Okay, so I'm just going to show you this video. Okay, and I want you to think about, cuba fikirkan apa yang awak boleh generate the things that you can the ideas that you can generate when you see this image. Okay. Okay, dah. Alright, so daripada video tu tadi, okay, gunakan deria-deria yang awak ada. Pertama, hearing. What can you hear? If you were to be sitting there. Kalau awak duduk dekat tepi pantai tu, apa yang awak boleh dengar? Okay, the first thing that you can hear is the sound of the waves. Okay, so bolehlah tulis. I can hear the sound of waves. I can also hear bird chirping, kan? In the background. Boleh dengar bunyi burung tadi, kan? Okay, so next one, sight. What can you see? Apa yang awak boleh nampak? Okay, I see the blue water. I can see the horizon. Boleh nampak apa ni? I can see the green trees. I can see the water is very clear. Okay, so gunakan deria penglihatan awak. Smell. So what do you smell when you are sitting in at the beach? Apa yang awak boleh bau? I can smell the sea. Okay, I can smell the ocean because when you are at the beach, there is a smell of sea water. Ada bau air laut, kan? Okay. Taste. So apa yang awak boleh rasa dekat tepi laut tu? Maybe you can talk about having a coconut drink sebab ada pokok kelapa, kan? Okay, there's a coconut tree here. So you can see when I was at the beach, I had a coconut drink. Okay, and finally, touch. Apa yang kita boleh sentuh? So as I was sitting there, I can feel the sand. I can feel the coarse sand, okay, the fine sand on my hand. Saya boleh rasa pasir yang ada di tangan, contohnya. So macam tu awak guna deria awak. Okay, what you can see, what you can hear, what you can feel. Okay, those are the things. Itulah benda-benda yang awak gunakan untuk untuk pastikan cerita awak ni lebih menarik. Tak adalah boring je, kan? Okay, so okay, before we look into the question for you to do for your essay, okay, let's look at here. There's a language bank. Ada kat sini perkataan-perkataan yang awak boleh pakai lah, contoh-contoh lain. Feelings, okay, so ada astonished, bravely, calmly, cheerfully, confidently, confused, decisively, desperately, excitedly, exhausted, frustrated, miserable, relieved, scared. Okay, so ini contoh-contoh lain lah. Senses, see, notice, observe, hear, can hear, smell, taste, touch. Okay, ways of speaking. Argue. Okay, argue ni maksudnya dia dia menyatakan dalam keadaan yang lebih dalam keadaan tegas. Complain, criticize, grumble. Complain maksudnya mengadu. Scream, jerit, whisper. Okay, dia sebut Allahu Akbar, dia whisper. Okay, dia bisik, kan? Time expression. Ini perkataan ni for this label, bila awak guna je perkataan macam the next day, after, much later, kita tahulah apa dia punya timeline dia dekat mana. So it is also important that you have a time expressions in your stories. Normally kita akan pakai macam once upon a time, kan? In one evening, okay, in the morning. Itu semua time expression yang awak boleh gunakan dalam cerita awak. Okay, so lastly ni lah, ini awak punya kerja rumah, homework. Read this writing task and use the plan and the language bank to help you write your story. When you have finished your story, check your work carefully. So, apa soalan dia kat sini? Can you write a story for our new magazine series? Okay, your story must begin with this sentence. As Mark was about to throw away the old bottle, he saw that there was a piece of paper inside. Misteri gitu. Okay, a message or map, a surprise. Okay, your story must include a message or map and a surprise. Sama macam tadi, cuma yang ni ada apa tu? A bottle and a piece of paper inside. So the piece of paper can either be a message or a map depending on you lah, bergantung pada awak. Awak nak tulis kertas tu tadi message ke peta. And hujung dia mesti ada surprise lah. Mesti ada benda yang tak disangka berlaku. Apakah benda tu? Terpulang pada awak nak tulis macam mana. Okay, how long is it? It must be between 140 to 190. So tengok plan ni. Paragraph 1, setting the scene and explain the given sentence. Okay, so setting Setting tu maksudnya tempat lah. Tempat awak tu berlaku di mana. Bagilah detail. Letak dekat paragraph 1. Jangan cerita dulu pasal kertas tadi tu. Okay, so awak just mulakan cerita awak dengan ayat ni, lepas tu bagi setting. Bila benda ni berlaku, when did this happen, where did it happen, okay, what you were doing when it happened, apa yang awak sedang buat bila waktu benda ni berlaku contohnya. Okay, those are the things that you can consider for paragraph 1. And then paragraph 2, action and description. So lepas awak jumpa botol tu, apa yang awak buat? What did you do? Tengok map tu ke? Okay. Bawa pergi jumpa kawan ke? Okay, up to you. Paragraph 2 and 3. Ceritalah sampailah awak jumpa ending dia dekat situ. So apa ending dia? Jangan lupa you need to include a surprise. So tulislah apa surprise tu, apa perkara yang tak dijangka yang berlaku tu. Mungkin jumpa harta karun ke, kan? Up to you. Mungkin kertas tu map. Is a map to a treasure, for example. So you can write a story, an adventure story. Ataupun awak boleh juga tulis cerita misteri. Maybe the paper has a message on it. Okay, the message goes like macam be careful of this person contohnya. Okay, so you want to write a story in which your character investigate the message. Okay, cari apa maksud yang ada daripada message tu. So apa penghujung dia? Okay, so terpulang pada awak lah. Ikut awak nak tulis macam mana. Okay, as long as you do the exercise. Jangan tulis panjang-panjang, just 140 to 190 words sahaja. Okay, kelas. So ada apa-apa nak tanya saya untuk kelas hari ni? Story writing. So saya harap semua jelas lah. So kalau rasa saya laju sangat nak ulang balik, nanti saya akan share video ni lah. Video semalam saya tengah proses lagi sebab it's quite long. Okay, so nanti saya akan kongsikan video ni dekat Google Classroom lah. Dia punya link tu. Saya akan bagi kat sana. Alright, so any questions, class? Okay, kerja ni jangan lupa buat nanti saya akan buat tab dekat ni lah, Google Classroom untuk awak hantar kerja awak. Soalan? Do you have any questions before we end the class?
No, sir.
Tak ada, semua jelas Alright, so kalau tak ada apa-apa soalan, that's it for today's class. Thank you for coming. Okay, semua yang hadir ni terima kasih. Walaupun tak berapa nak ramai sangat, tak apalah, saya faham kelas pagi. Okay, so nanti pesan kat kawan-kawan yang tak ada tu untuk tengok kita punya video session pagi ni Saya akan kongsikan video dia dekat YouTube. Nanti saya bagi link. So suruh pesan dekat diorang, suruh tengok. And also buat latihan yang saya bagi itulah. Okay. Alright, thank you class. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, you're welcome.